And welcome back to the LEC Summer Playoffs. I'm joined by Vedius and Enda once more, as that's awfully close.
We're right over here, man. Like, come on.
They're focusing on the most important member of the team. Now, let's turn our attentions to Game 2 in the BO5. G2 at side selection, they once again elected blue side. I was very happy with how Fnatic handled the team composition that they got in Game 1, but Vedius, what pivots and changes do you want to see here, especially from the G2 side?
I would like to never see Mikyx on Braum ever again.
Okay,
I hate that.
I second that.
I think that something Ender and I talked a lot about, and like something we've been talking a lot about when it comes to G2 is when you put their bot lane in a weak 2v2, they're not set up for success. And I think that it makes the game a lot harder to play.
And when you are playing farming junglers, you don't gank on your own. You gank with your support, so you need to get the winning bot lane 2v2 matchup so your support can be the one to roam. The Braum is not going to do that, so I do want to see G2 pivot around that bottom lane so they can make some early plays, because when G2 play with the support roaming to mid to get caps fed, that's when G2 are at their most dominant.
Well, the first ban straight out the gate of Ezreal is exactly the same as the previous game. So is the Evelynn, and so is the Caitlyn. So thus far, Vedius, no pivots in terms of ban strategy.
No, and I think for Fnatic, they don't have to change anything, right? Putting a lot of focus on AD carries, I think is very reasonable. It worked out for them in the last game. But we are seeing a shift, the Ashe ban away from the Thresh. This heavily suggests to me G2 will first pick the Thresh. You then expect the Senna response coming out from Fnatic. They might do something like a Senna Nautilus, and then it comes down to what other AD carries are left? Maybe a Jhin? Maybe they're happy to play that into the Senna?
I mean, it's also possible with so many AD carry bans that you still go for the first pick Senna. That's what I was sort of thinking for G2. Of course, there's a lot of things you can pair with it down in the bottom lane still. And I don't feel like Fnatic are the team that are going to go for like the Kalista Thresh in the bot side and completely look to blast you down there.
Let's find out what direction they do go. We know we don't want Mikyx on Braum, so please don't go Senna Braum again. We'll see if G2 agree with my color casters. And for Fnatic, as they now pivot, last time around was the Ashe. Ashe is in the ban pool, and there's the Jhin Vedius that you were talking about.
Well, I did expect this to go the other way around, but now I wouldn't be surprised to see Fnatic lock in the Nautilus once again. I think Jhin Naut is something that G2 have showcased to be a very strong 2v2. We've seen other teams around the world and domestically draft that as well, and I think that it can be a very solid matchup into the Sett.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't forget the Pyke that Hylissang brought out a little while ago too, but I think the Nautilus is a much more stable pick around the bottom lane and does give you more room to diversify around the map in terms of damage profiles. Now for G2, my question was going to be, do you go for the Sett? Because they tried the scaling, they tried the Lillia, it did not work, and G2 beat scaling junglers by playing a heavy early game aggressive style, and the Sett is going to be able to shut down a scaling pick from Selfmade.
I know, hovering through a lot. We don't talk about hovers.
But I quite like the Lux. I thought the Lux was quite interesting. Obviously, it is a little risky, and I think
I like that better.
Yeah, Kaiser's showcased multiple times how Leona can be a very good matchup into the Nautilus. Gives you strong engage tools, and most importantly, it's a champion that allows Mikyx to roam around the map, and yes, it is not Braum.
Yeah, and I feel like between Aftershock and the durability you get from your W, you just stay alive for so long, it can be really hard to deal with. And I feel like with Senna being able to trade, having Leona able to jump on in there, it enables you to get some more pressure out of that bottom side and make those roams happen.
Now, let's see what Mikyx can do on it. This is only his third professional game on Leona ever. He played one at Worlds, he played one in the Spring Split, and this will be the third time that he's ever done it. Selfmade will get his hands on the Lillia. So I want to see what jungle answer, Sett is already locked in. So let's see how he handles himself against the Lillia. It didn't feel like yesterday Schalke had a great answer in reply, and now we jump into phase 2 ban. So LeBlanc finds herself off the table. Let's see what direction they go next.
Yeah, so I really like this pivot from Fnatic because last draft we saw so much attention thrown at the top laners, but because they have already seen G2's change in playstyle where they want to play a much faster game, they're taking away the mid laners that pair nicely and offer CC to set up for those ganks. So LeBlanc is the main culprit. A Zoe for caps would have also been deadly, and now his options to give the CC to set up for his team are going to be much more limited.
Also, Fnatic don't need to ban the Aurelia away because with the Sett locked in, the expectation is that it will not be an AP jungler, so the likelihood of caps taking an AD mid. Of course, that's always caveated by the fact that Wunder can play Nico top. He would potentially have to blind it into whatever Fnatic is going for because they do, of course, have the counter pick. But it's something you always have to bear in mind, depending on what Rekkles locks in for Nemesis right now. If we see the Orianna once again, don't be too surprised if we do see that Irelia-Nico combo.
Yeah, I do feel like Nico can do well in a wide variety of matchups, so it's not the worst blind pick to go for up in the top lane. As for what Fnatic want to do here, the Shen's an interesting one. This one pairs well with, you know, the Lillia, who tries to get into the back line too and offers that bot lane support. Remember, Fnatic played so much through the playmaking of Hylissang, and now if Bwipo can enter bot lane that much more frequently, it's going to be even easier for Fnatic to set up on that lane.
Shen was also banned in phase 2 of game number 1, available and open this time round, so it was picked up. It'll be an Orianna and a Jayce, so Wunder taking Jayce into the top lane.
I really like, so G2 are saying they actually have 2 lanes to play around now. I think Jankos going to spend a lot of time around mid lane and top lane early on into this. You can't really counter pick Jayce super well up top side. He has the range, he has the poke early on, and also some very strong all-ins with that hammer form too. So this is a G2 that is putting faith in Wunder. They saw him on the Gnar in the last game. They want him to step up in game 2.
And with the Akali lock-in, by the way, not only is that the first time that we're seeing a Nemesis in summer, but it's the first time in all of 2020 he has not played this champion at all this year. He's 4 wins, 4 losses historically. And after Fnatic just picked up their first win of the year against G2, now it's the first champion of the year for Nemesis.
I think this was a bit of a challenge thrown towards Nemesis, honestly, because by G2 taking away the Orianna, they were saying, what else have you got in the wheelhouse? Will you too pick Akali into our Ori? Remember last year, Nemesis and Caps were going back-to-back with the Akali-Sylas matchup in that final, and we know that Nemesis can play it, but the comments have always been that he falls short relative to that of Caps, so it's going to be exciting seeing him go up against Caps once again on the champion that they fought so much for last year.
And while G2 put pressure on Wunder, Fnatic are trying to say, we'll shut him down with the Akali and the Shen in the side lanes. Let's see how it goes when we get into game number 2.
Welcome back to Summoner's Rift. Fnatic 1-0 up against G2. Winner of this series advances to the Championship Series on Sunday next weekend. And the loser plays on Saturday against either Mad Lions or Rogue. Mickey on your screen right now. When we got off camera, Ender and Vedius were ranting. And they said, if Mickey keeps playing Braum, the series is over.
It wasn't quite that dramatic.
Oh, it was. He is playing the Leona this time around. And we'll see whether or not he's going to find the initiation.
So I think like the bigger conversation, which is something that Ender talked about, was that number one, when you're playing scaling junglers, having a strong 2v2 is really important. But I also think that when you just look at G2, giving Mickey the space to roam is also very important. And when you're playing something like a Braum, it makes it harder for him to impact the map. But on a Leona, you have a lot more playmaking tools. You can match Hylissang on his roams. My only concern is how they stack up against a Jhin Nautilus, because this is a very powerful 2 versus 2 lane. It has a lot of CC setup, and Selfmade can also look for ganks to try and shut Perkz and Mikyx down.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this 2 versus 2, Nautilus offers so much base damage that his early all-ins, of course, are going to be very powerful. Combined with if they're playing around Rekkles' 4th shot, like those burst trades are going to be very, very good. And already with the early pathing, Jankos starting on his bot side, moving up towards the top half of the map. There's not going to be support for G2 right off the bat, so they're going to definitely not want to get jumped on too early by Hilly.
You can see a bit of trading going back and forth already in the 2 versus 2. Also keeping my eyes on the mid lane as a hook hits a minion.
Well, a lot of damage back and forth. Punch to the face and Hilly, and Rekkles and Perkz still trading a lot, though.
Yeah, I like this from G2. They see Rekkles still on, 4 shots remaining, so they go in for the trade. They trade 2 autos. Once Rekkles gets down towards the 4th, that's where they're going to step away. Fnatic now have control over the wave and can push this one in as well. But when we talk about the priority in the bottom lane, it's less about this initial level 2, and it's more about looking which lane gets to take the first reset. And then where do they go? Because while G2 are a team that love to run Mickey into the mid lane, shut down the enemy mid laner, Fnatic are a team that Hylissang, he just sometimes loves to run into the top lane, and a Jayce that's always going to be pushing has to be especially mindful of a Nautilus run.
I'm also interested to see how this mid lane matchup plays out. Obviously the reverse of what we had in game number 1. And pre-level 6, Caps was able to bully Nemesis a fair amount, generate a CS advantage. Now in the inverse, We'll see whether or not he can maintain this advantage that he's built up, Vedius.
So early game, this is a very Orianna favored matchup. The biggest thing you have to be concerned about is your mana usage. Being too aggressive can very quickly burn through your mana bar. And so being able to push this in, I wouldn't be surprised if Caps looks for a bit of a recall now, but it looks like he's going to stay on the offensive. He wants to bully Nemesis as much as possible as the junglers have found each other.
Jankos is going to flash forward. Defensive flash from Selfmade, so they end up trading 1-for-1. Hex flash for Jankos, though, so he'll come out a little bit more advantageous.
Yep, this is exactly what you want to see from the early game powerhouse jungle of the set, is you play for the double scuttle crab. So he finds Selfmade in the bot side river. He can take this crab, then sprint up towards the top side of the map as well and get that done. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Rekkles went for a very early recall, itemized into the boots, but Hylissang was just sitting here trying to hold the wave, didn't find a rotation himself, which is something we do see from a lot of supporters.
I am actually surprised the Rekkles went for such an early base. I'm curious as to whether or not that was because he took a bad trade, or if that was a choice for him to get those early boots in. Either way, you can see that it's still actually very close in the farm, so the timing worked out for Rekkles, that's for sure. Will lose a little bit of HP, but for the most part, they are good. Just notice that he is running the fleet footwork as well, so having that extra bit of sustain in a sustain lane is very valuable. As Selfmade will run into Jankos.
Wunder's going to flash away already, use that Mercurial Hammer and
No flash,
smack
remember.
Bwipo away. Jankos stepping forward. Bwipo's got flash available. Selfmade seems to be safe for now. Jankos won't be able to chuck out the spells.
Oh,
Not
no.
enough damage now. He's in trouble. Gets tagged down by those blooming blows. The acceleration gate will buy some time. That's the taunt flash into Bwipo. He manages to pick up first blood for Fnatic.
Fnatic just playing that so well right there. Selfmade, even without the flash, showing how he can abuse the movement speed to get away from Jankos. Jankos committed the E, the pullback onto Bwipo, and now Cap's going for the dive.
Absolutely is. Already built himself up an 8 CS advantage, forcing Nemesis out of lane at 5 minutes in the inverse of the previous game. Off to a strong start.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, we have to go back to the top lane because this is a lane that Wunder was winning, still has a big CS lead in. G2 need to pop off in the early game. They need to have winning lanes coming out with CS leads, and to then give an early kill over to Bwipo playing around the top lane. This is exactly what happened to Rogue when they played against Fnatic. The early game kills going towards the scaling junglers on the top side of the map. This could be a problem for them.
And I thought that at first this was going to be a great play for G2, because notice that Wunder was actually hovering towards the river because he knows that Jankos was on his way. And if Jankos could have gone on top of Selfmade, that would have been a kill, but of course he doesn't have his flash, so they decide to commit to Bwipo, and then you realize, wait, there's an entire minion wave also hitting onto both G2 members. Selfmade on Lillia, it's very good at kind of keeping distance, poking you down, and then Bwipo's like, okay, I have the flash taunt, I also have the passive, the Spirit's Refuge to mitigate all the damage. And then there's nothing that Wunder can do to stop this, so Fnatic is able to walk away with first blood.
Yeah, there are a couple really important things too. I feel like Jankos' Haymaker goes way wide, wasn't able to land the true damage, bonus damage there in the center of it. And also, Jankos had not been back to base. Because he played for the double Scuttle Crabs, he didn't have any sort of items, or I believe Selfmade had just come off of a reset with the blue smite.
Very interested to see how Bwipo can play around the stand. United just hit level 6, by the way, while he is down in CS to Wunder's Jayce. First blood helping out, and down in the bottom lane, Hylissang was forced to use that flash. There was some threat coming in from Jankos. It doesn't equate to anything more, but CS advantage for Perkz, for Caps, for Wunder in the first 6 minutes of the game.
Jankos is not allowed to slow down in this early game. You know Selfmade already has a tiny CS lead. It's only going to get larger. The Swiftness boots were completed, so Selfmade can really zoom around this map. So watch Jankos. He'll always be trying to play for the Scuttle Crabs and play off of Mikyx. Now that G2 have pushed in the bot lane, Perkz is low on mana. You would expect Perkz to go for a reset, and that's why Mikyx is waiting in the fog 4 to make something happen. But this is where I would have loved to see G2 perhaps go in, get some deep vision inside Selfmade's jungle to set up for future roams.
Looks like they're not going to do that for now, though. And I actually have my eyes on mid lane. Nemesis hit level 6, Selfmade 2. They have their eyes on Orianna. No cleanse, remember?
Well, Swelsey doesn't find a target, and no lullaby from Selfmade means Caps just sidesteps the engage.
Yeah, but then look at this. Selfmade is going to walk into the enemy jungle here. He knows the blue buff is going to be respawning. I think this is a good move from Caps. We'll walk over and probably chuck the ball. Just try and see if Selfmade's on this one. So they have the information. Jankos is on the dragon. Will end up giving up the blue buff, I feel, with Bwipo walking down, but G2 will be able to trade for the early objective.
Yeah, look at the map as well. Bwipo moved first. Nemesis able to push that wave in. Now Caps has to go and catch. As he does exactly that, the blue buff does not get secured, but 7 minutes 45 in, Jankos picks up the first strike.
Yeah, I respect this from Jankos. I think that Caps was willing to sacrifice a bit of farm there, knowing that he has that advantage already in the 1 versus 1 in order to get that first Cloud Drake. And the fact that G2 can already start working towards this, I think is great. I think right now, if you're G2, the concern you have is, okay, Wunder's not that far ahead in the 1v1 matchup top lane. Mid is also okay. And I think that Fnatic, what could have been a very rough, difficult early laning phase, considering the advantage that G2 have in both mid and top, has actually been mitigated. So the fact that Fnatic is very even, 8.5 minutes into the game, I think Fnatic is pretty cool
happy.
Yeah, I do really like how Wunder was holding the wave in the top lane for just a moment. Does now push it out, and I think Hylissang was already on the rotation up here, so that Selfmade can secure the Rift Tail. This is what I was talking about. When Hylissang gets back to base first, he's able to move. Meanwhile, Mikyx spent a lot of time bot lane. While Perkz was going back to base himself, he was there to try and make sure that he could hold the wave in front of the tower. So that means Fnatic get control over the river and should be able to find this Herald and maybe a kill.
Jankos gets caught by the dredge line. Nemesis has got the ultimate available. Support now coming in from Caps and Mikyx. Solar Flare available, and the Herald is the target. It's going to get pushed away. G2 able to force Fnatic out and secure the objective.
Exactly. The difference here is that, well, Hylissang came topside, Rekkles went bot, the duo of Perkz and Mikyx ran up there. So Fnatic were trying to sneak it out from under G2 and get a win on both sides of the map with their bot lane able to farm and the Herald on top of it, but G2, working as a team there, are able to push them off.
Interestingly, we actually saw Wunder move from top down into mid, and it looks like that they actually wanted to send Perkz straight from mid into bot, but what happened from Fnatic was they had Nautilus roam this way and Akali roam this way, which meant that if Perkz tried to go through his own half of the jungle, he would have just been obliterated. So good awareness from G2 to not get caught off, and I think that Fnatic's response by moving to the bot side has now given 2 free plates to Rekkles, which is great because they know that G2 does have the Rift Herald, and this will make it easy to be able to trade a bit.
And that's exactly what you want to see. Here we go, Mikyx going in.
That's the flash engage. Solar Flare as well. Remember, Hylissang does not have flash available. Teleport coming out here from G2 as well. The dredge line going to get Hilly to safety. Stand United was channeled by Bwipo. He's still got that TP, acceleration gate, and the shock blast going out. And Jankos, despite being tagged by the ball, escapes. Advantage Fnatic. I think they used less to survive.
Yeah, I mean, this is an anxious G2, really trying to force there. Mikyx said, I'm gonna flash, I'm gonna engage, we're gonna make this play happen, but they don't exactly find the mark. There's no flank ward. Wunder has to come in behind the rest of the team, and I understand G2's perspective here. Like, Jankos needs to get things done on this set to make it work out, but they have to come up with a better effort than that because that is not working for them.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised as to why Wunder even TP'd in that fight, because I think the moment that Bwipo's ultimate came through, G2 were already disengaging, and then G2 must have said, hey, we can actually re-engage with Jayce gate perhaps, with the bonus movement speed, maybe we can lock them down, and we have all 5 members on the bot side of the map too, but I guess the bright side for G2 is I believe 2 waves actually were lost up in that top tower that Bwipo wasn't able to get because of the TP down to bot, which means the Wunder has actually built an even bigger CS advantage down the top side.
25 for the time being, Vedius. That cull is about to proc for Wunder as well. In the mid lane, Caps is currently going even with Nemesis. Inverse, he had about a 10 CS advantage at this point, and Hylissang's roam will push him onto Wunder. The dredge line, I think, caught a minion for Hilly, so won't be able to follow up on that one. Nevertheless, they get the flash from Wunder.
Hylissang has just been all over the map. Not just this game, the last game too. For a guy that's been criticized all split long, he is certainly stepping up when it matters and is the main reason, I feel like, why Fnatic are finding so many advantages in the early minutes.
Definitely one of the players that has been, as we said, one of the most criticized members of Fnatic during the regular season. There were people calling for his head and saying get him out of there along with Nemesis. And when you see that performance in Week 8, Round 1 of playoffs, and now the first 2 games, you can see the veteranship, you can see the ability, and like Vedius, we were talking about this a lot, where Hylissang just finds the ability to focus and step up when his
look at Rekkles.
All right, misses the first shot, tags the second, third goes wide, fourth and final shot will connect, but won't have enough damage to kill Perkz, but it will push him out of the lane.
50% failing grade from Perkz, or from Rekkles.
Yeah, that's a D. Unlucky Rekkles.
Hey, it still counts for Perkz because he didn't dodge the other 2, right? So that statement applies.
True. They both failed. What?
Yep. What is interesting is that G2 haven't used the Herald yet, and Rekkles is continuing to stack up plates. If we can very quickly swap over to the gold observer so we can have a look at the difference. Once again, we see Rekkles with a 600 to 700 gold advantages. Fnatic look for a play in mid.
They are indeed. Selfmade's got the lullaby down. Nemesis jumping onto Wunder, and he's going to go down, but he gets the damage! How did the Thundering Blow get the kill? Ends up being a trade of 1-for-1. While that's going on, dredge line to the bottom lane. Deadly Flourish comes out. Perkz was rooted in place. He's still got that flash available. And that means that they're not going to chase further. Instead, one loss auto up to the tower.
Here comes the rest of G2.
Solar Flare from Mikyx available to him. He's going to lock down Hilly under the tower. There goes the flash. Here comes Jankos. Actually stopped to summon the Herald as well. Caps has got the shockwave if needed, but the showstopper comes down. And G2 are back in it. They get themselves a kill, and they're going to push onto the tower.
Yeah, G2 are able to punish in that moment. It starts out with Wunder with the absolute hero play on a sliver of HP. Turns around the kill, but now Fnatic, they're not slowing down.
No, they're not. Want to punch back. There's the taunt flash. Perkz is able to escape as he held onto his flash. The Zenith Blade connects on a Bwipo. He's going to get taken down. The railgun comes up from Perkz. Now Nemesis is the next target. He's forced to flash defensively. He's being run down by 4 members of G2. Selfmade arrives just in time to watch his teammate go down.
What looked like a great collapse from Fnatic ended up in disaster as G2 now sit with 4 kills and a Mountain Drake alive. Beautiful turnaround from G2 to stop the aggression from Fnatic.
Yeah, I just love that play right there. They saw Fnatic were a little bit split up. Fnatic, they tried to make a play in mid lane and bot lane at the same time, and because G2 went even, turned it around.
It's indeed, there's
no smite
attempt available to him. It's not going to be able to die. G2 pick up the second dragon, and now Fnatic looking for an opportunity.
Fnatic just got 2 quick kills.
Unbelievable.
The chase now comes through from Fnatic. They're looking to get a little bit more.
Hilly's not done.
No, of course. This man doesn't care.
He doesn't let people recall.
No, he does not.
Set it himself.
And there's the fight now. Dredgeline and Zenith
Even
Blade,
if
they're
he
going to pull one
dies
another.
for it.
Hylissang will go down. So at the end of it all, 5 kills for G2, 2 to Fnatic, but they get the dragon as well.
Rekkles will also get the first tower of the game, though. Like, whew, okay.
Look at the gold. The gold doesn't lie here, and Rekkles has a big lead.
Exactly. I'm liking what we're seeing here in game 2. Both teams going toe-to-toe. G2 turning it on a little bit more, looking to force these plays and punish some of the over-aggression that we're getting from Hylissang. But the action actually started off in mid lane, with Wunder finding himself a little overextended. The Fnatic engage comes through, but look at Wunder here. The damage just lacking a little bit from Nemesis, allowing him to get the turnaround.
I actually think Nemesis, he just never auto-attacked there. He could have taken down Wunder much, much sooner in that play, and then Hylissang didn't have his ultimate. It was about 25 seconds away from coming off of cooldown, so now he's stuck between 2 towers, and coming off the back of the play in the mid lane, G2 pieced out. They're dropping waves to find the collapse.
And notice the Shen doesn't have the ultimate. The Lillia is dead, which means that it's very easy for G2 to just hard commit to this play. And they wanted to use the Rift Herald anyway. What a better time than now, seeing as they have all their team here and they can give more gold on to Perkz. Of course, after this, more action happens, but we're not going to have time for that because the TP flank came in from Fnatic. And again, while initially that looked good because Nemesis had his ultimate, Bwipo still didn't. And the target selection from G2 is actually very good because they shut down Bwipo first, Caps stalled out Nemesis, and then with Shen gone, it was easy for them to collapse as another skirmish kicks off.
Well, Mikyx goes in with the Zenith Blade, slows down Selfmade while the Rift Herald is being picked up, and now Mikyx's in a little bit of trouble. Solar Flare's available to him. He's going to flash over the wall, get the stun onto Nemesis with the Shield of Daybreak, and start to back away. Herald secured by G2. They're still down 1,200 gold, but they do have 2 dragons secured.
Look, the game is getting super explosive. I think the kills were traded really evenly overall, as now Bwipo, he finds Wunder, and Hilly's on the charge.
Wunder's got the flash available to him as well as the acceleration gate, and I think Hilly's going to be happy that Dredgeline didn't connect on the wall.
The important thing is coming out of all of those kills, it has given us a player to look at on each team, because we already saw how much gold Rekkles made off of just farming freely in the bottom lane, the turret plates as well, and then Caps comes out with 3 kills on the Orianna, and after an entire split of carrying G2, game 2 to try and even up the series, he has to show up.
3-0-1 for now. CS advantage, and Fnatic, they did clear out a lot of camps there from G2's jungle. They're 1 tower up, and now they're going to start to back away as Caps pushes that wave in.
And now as the action is resetting just a little bit, want to draw our attention to the XP bars, because you'll notice that Hylissang, he's only level 7 right now. While he has been roaming around the map a lot, he is very far down in how often he's actually been spending time with Rekkles. Now, of course, the bright side to this is Rekkles is sitting at the same XP that Wunder is sitting on, and Bwipo is getting further ahead, so level-wise, Fnatic is doing a great job, but Hylissang is getting repeatedly punished, and while he has had a great game 1, it feels like that G2 is much more willing to react to his aggression this time.
Yeah, G2 definitely have the tools to be able to scrap and fight so much better in this one. I think that the fact that we see G2 not necessarily leaving Wunder alone in a side lane, instead playing as a team is going to be a very good look for them, shutting down a lot of the value of an Akali Shen combination.
Oh, that's a big ult. That could be.
Is indeed. Lullaby can come forward.
Nemesis
Selfmade held on to the trigger. The shockwave catches too. Hylissang uses the Drake line to escape to safety, but there's the dash forward. Bwipo gets caught and pulled backwards by Jankos. The slam dunk showstopper sends Bwipo back to the fountain, but the curtain is called by Rekkles, and it will slow down the siege. Here comes Wunder, has got the shock blast under the tower, and the center blade finds a target. That is so much damage on the Selfmade. Jankos takes him out, and they're not done yet. Jankos and Wunder pushing forward. 2 quick towers and 2 quick kills for G2.
And just like that, G2 is activated. The entire time, Nemesis was sitting in a side lane. So G2 was like, hey, we can engage on this. We know Nemesis doesn't have teleport unless he walks down. We're going to have that numbers advantage, and look at how they commit to this. They know that they can take the tower, the Rift Herald. Let's keep track of Caps' ball here. Sitting underneath the Rift Herald, they notice it too late. The 2-man ult comes through, and that's the go sign for G2.
It's just such a good punish there for G2, and the amount of engage tools they have, they can keep forcing the fight the way of Fnatic. At some point, Fnatic have to say pull out because they're not calling Nemesis into the play. Here again, Hylissang and Selfmade stepping far forward, and Mikyx was able to punish again and again on the back half.
I mean, looking at Caps' performance, looking at the split that he's had, 3-0-3, he starts that playoff with the shockwave. And this has been the go-to man for G2. Both of these teams are going to Worlds, and it's very exciting to see the level of play that we've already seen in the last 2 weeks of playoffs.
Caps has been involved of 6 of the team's 7 kills, but the huge difference this game was the bottom lane, switching things up, putting Mikyx on the Leona. The bot lane also 6 out of the 7 kills. They have been driving the action for G2.
20 minutes in the game, Infernal is up, and Vedius, it looks like the setup is coming into play.
So right now, G2 is feeling pretty confident. The Orianna has 2 items. They have strong team fighting tools, but just like I drew attention to Caps in the last game, I gotta draw your eyes towards Rekkles this time around. He hasn't completed his 2nd item yet, but he's sitting at 0-0-0. He's lying in wait. He's ready to activate.
Oh, Nemesis.
And now Mikyx may have found Nemesis, or has Nemesis found Mikyx?
Yeah, there's not enough support from the rest of G2. Nemesis is gonna die.
Oh, that's not good!
That's a double root! The shockwave catches onto Nemesis. Here comes the stand united from Bwipo. It's buying a lot of time. Solar Flare will slow things down for Fnatic, but Mikyx is the first one that's in trouble. Showstopper pulls Bwipo out of the fight, and Perkz takes down Hilly. Nemesis is dashing and running for his life as Bwipo is pulled backwards. He dashes through, and he will go down.
And once again, Fnatic find themselves in a fight at a numbers disadvantage. G2 are more than happy to take these and the 3rd Drake of the game.
The coordination is not the same in Game 2 as it was in Game 1 for Fnatic. They need to buckle down because in the chaotic nature of the first 20 minutes of this G2-driven game, Fnatic have not been able to find themselves.
We take stock, 9 kills to 4, 3 dragons in the advantage of G2, but Fnatic did take down that tower.
Look, you can see that Rekkles, he's 1,000 gold ahead of Perkz, but it doesn't matter if you ain't going to use that gold, Rekkles. 0-0-0. At first, I was saying he was waiting to ramp up, but we haven't seen him show up yet. Notice in this fight, he's just looking to reset. Meanwhile, Hylissang and Selfmade, they're getting control over the river. He's forced to cancel the recall, and like,
he's hitting a ward.
Said, everything for Fnatic right now is just too split up.
Yeah, Nemesis hit a ward 4 times. That's a control ward. He has to know G2 is on the way down here. Rekkles has no way of entering into the fight, so G2 literally deathballing 5 members to finish off.
Look at how tanky Mikyx is as well, soaking up so much of the damage. The W combined with the Aftershock combo just means that he can soak up a lot and just bait Fnatic into sticking on him while the rest of G2 clean up.
And Fnatic will clear out that tower 3-3 at least, but 4 minutes until the Infernal Soul is available for G2 Esports. By the way, needlessly large rod picked up for Caps. He's on his way towards that 3rd item, sitting on those free-ass boots and doing fantastically on the Orianna, but important to call out, Rekkles does have the eye edge and that rapid fire cannon, so if he can be involved in those fights, could help turn things around.
So, and like, I feel like when I look at the gold, it's actually a little deceptive, because even though the gold is very close, when you see the Drake advantage that G2 have, but more importantly, you look at the item advantage that G2 have, it feels like that this is very much a G2-controlled game right
Exactly. I mean, we're looking at 3.5 minutes away of a game-deciding team fight when Fnatic are going to risk it all to contest G2 for the Infernal Soul. And at that point, Caps is going to have a Rabadon's Death Cap on top of his other 2 items. And that doesn't feel necessarily beatable for Fnatic unless they're able to find him out. And it really is Nemesis and Bwipo then the dive tag team to make it happen.
It's a hunt on multiple sides. Bwipo seems to be under pressure. Jankos decides to pull back the Hex Flash. Hilly also decides to pull back the Hex Flash. We've seen the G2 Death Ball team fights playing out, but Fnatic, they may be forced to pick another one of these 5v5s around either a Soul or maybe even a Baron. You can see Jankos is going to start stepping forward.
I've seen this before.
Perhaps Hilly, and he's going to get blown up, sniped down from the mid lane. That shock blast from Wunder, and that's just unfortunate. Fnatic on the retreat get picked off.
Yeah, Fnatic, I mean, they're trying to get vision, but I don't think you need to be playing that aggressively right now, especially because if Rekkles isn't with you, it's not a one fight. And even then, Rekkles still probably wants to wait for another item when you look at how G2 have been able to snowball Caps ahead in this game. I actually really love how Caps is playing this one too. There's no objective to contest for 2 minutes. He flees on this side of the map. And then what I also want to see him is like take the Gromp camp. Actually make sure you're funneling your way into that Rabadon's before the Infernals.
And I think what's really interesting is, you know, freezing is a hotly contested topic when you look at the social media. But I think what's interesting here is that when you're in an advantage is actually when I love seeing freezing the most, because often when a team, you know, when you fall behind in a 1v1 and you're able to freeze the lane on the back end, that person can then move around the map and look to punish. Fnatic now looking to try and punish Wunder.
Well, flash for flash, by the way. Bwipo and Wunder just trading. Wunder is in some trouble, but perfect execution. Nemesis picks up his 2nd of the game with the help of Bwipo, showing that he's not out of this yet.
When you freeze a lane, the other team will become desperate to make a play, either break the freeze or punish on the other side of the map. And Wunder, not aware of that, is caught out of position in the bottom lane. And that is a much-needed sigh of relief for Fnatic, who were about to lose an entire lane of farm for nothing in return.
And I was just about to say, like, I think it's easier when you're a winning team, or at least in the advantage, to be able to freeze because it's harder to punish, and then Wunder ends up overextending, allowing Fnatic to get that kill. You can see the Orianna now pushing that all the way through. If you can quickly swap over to the gold observers, let's see how far away he is. I'm pretty sure that with the large rod that he has,
he's about 400 gold away.
Yeah, because you need 2,350.
2,350.
Yeah, for the upgrade. So he's still a little bit off. Cap's going to grab himself another needlessly large rod. Wonder if he'll decide to upgrade his boots. Yeah, okay, he's also going to do that.
A lot of damage under Mikyx, but there's no further follow-up. 40 seconds until Infernal. Fnatic already trying to push these waves out and try to get some form of control, but G2 are grouped up on the bottom, and with the stopwatch picked up as well as the Sork Shoe stopwatch in Perkz' inventory as well, those could be crucial at the Infernal Soul fights.
So notice that Nemesis is pushing in the top wave. He's going to look to reset, and he has the TP. He's going to commit the TP now.
He absolutely is. Coming in, and let's see now where the rest of Fnatic come from. Not going to be enough just yet. Bwipo's now moving towards the bottom lane as G2 are grouped up. That death ball is rolling forward and threatening and engage. Mikyx sees Hilly but holds on.
I mean, G2 get full control because there's 2 towers down in mid lane, so they fully push the wave and now cut through the jungle. Hylissang is caught out once again.
Absolutely is. Pulled backwards. Nothing else is used. That's a flash over the wall. Now the curtain is called back as Rekkles is firing off the shots onto G2 inside the jungle. Swellseed will fly forward and the Lullaby is held onto for now. Nemesis now may be the next target. Shockwave is up for Caps. He's got a lot of damage. Nemesis goes all the way forward. The Shockwave catches him. He's down. What was that? Now the turnaround as the Curse of the Black Fist gets another kill. Jankos gets the 3rd of the fight, and Fnatic get destroyed in the river.
G2 own Fnatic there, and Caps found Nemesis with the Shockwave, even inside of the Shroud. Wunder tries to chase down Rekkles, but this is not just the Infernal Soul. This will be the Baron for G2.
G2 looking clean as they answer back in Game 2. This is the series that we wanted to see. This is the G2 and Fnatic that everyone was hoping for in this best of 5. It's likely that G2's going to take this game.
Oh,
it looks like Wunder is going to take Rekkles' life.
Welcome to the game, Rekkles. 0-1-0 at 26 minutes. Bwipo now joins the fray. Shadow Dash is available.
Wunder wins this.
Used it a second ago. Look at the hyper. Wunder continues to chase. Shock Blast didn't find the target. Caps TP'd under the inhibitor to help Wunder out. The G2 solo laners who have been so dominant for so long, and Wunder is on a killing spree. The 5th of the game. 409 Caps, 209 Perkz, 008 Mikyx. These are our world's contestants, world's combatants, fully activated. And Wunder's going to be able to escape with his life as well.
So let's have a look back at this fight and see exactly how things played out. So Nemesis gets spotted on a control ward. G2 had information of where Fnatic is, and they recognize that Hylissang is out of position. They try to chunk him out, but they don't overcommit because they know the Shen ult is also a thing. So instead, they take the blue buff, they look to move back towards the Drake. Knowing that Hylissang is out of the fight, they know they have a numbers advantage. This is where they commit to Nemesis, and Nemesis thinks, okay, I'm going to buy time, get the Shen ultimate. The Shen ulti comes through, but it doesn't matter. It just gets popped immediately due to a fantastic shockwave from Caps. The follow-up CC from Mikyx onto Selfmade as well, and then that's just the fight done and dusted.
G2 absolutely running over Fnatic in that one, and I mean, it brings me back. That was a really tough position for Fnatic to win, with Hylissang getting caught out and how G2 played the map leading in to that into that team fight, but Nemesis unable to find an entrance here on the Akali. And when I think Nemesis Akali historically, like, this was a pick that was so huge for him at the end of summer, playing against G2 in the same match last summer in the playoffs. Fnatic up 2-0, and his Akali got leads, but it couldn't find the mark in team fights. And if he's going to continue to go to this pick, he has to find a better way to enter there, because G2 shut him down hard.
And Nemesis last weekend, 2 games of Lucian, 1 game of Cogmore. He's 4 wins, 4 losses on Akali all time, and it looks like Wunder may be able to just take him out, and he does. That was close, though.
I think
that was close.
Okay, for context, Akali had 2 items, and Jayce had 4.
Yep. That was a lot of damage from Nemesis, but with his death going down, and now G2 inside the base with the Dragon Soul, with the Baron buff, this will be the push to even out the series. Bwipo's trying to slow Perkz and Mikyx down on the top lane as Rekkles is down, and 1, 2, 3 more Fnatic members fall. That's the ace inside of Fnatic's base. G2 in 29 minutes will be evening up the series.
And that's the Caps carry performance we have come to expect this season. G2 working alongside him to get him an advantage, and G2 run through Fnatic to tie up the series.
Unkilled Caps, Perkz, and Mikyx. What a dominant showing from the 3 representatives. The scoreline is now tied up at 1-1, and Fnatic will get side selection for the next game.
And I think one of the biggest things that Ender highlighted was that the cohesion wasn't there like it was in game 1. I think that when we look a little bit more at the draft, one of Fnatic's game plans had to have been to play through bot lane. When you have Jhin, Nautilus, and a Shen, your whole goal should just be attack, attack, try and snowball. But I felt like that Rekkles wasn't visible. You know, I was hyping him up. I was like, there's going to be an opportunity here where he's going to activate, he's going to turn online, but in every fight, he never had that opportunity. He never got to play because it felt like that everything was just kind of falling around it before the fight even started.
Look, at level 3 in the bot side, River Selfmade burned, or Selfmade lost his flash up against Jankos. The early game jungle matchup. Yes. It's so hard to play through bot lane when the enemy team is taking a pick like the Sett.
I mean, you said it very early on. Do not slow down. Do not let up the tempo. And G2 did not. They kept finding the engages. They kept the pressure on. Now, Fnatic will get side selection for the next game, so they'll get to decide what happens next. I believe we're about ready to go to an ad break, and if we are, we'll see you on the other side with some more post-game analysis. Yes!
Nailed it.
I think this patch was a bit rougher for us, but we picked it up now. That's like our biggest strength, I think, like the adaptability. I can already like taste the feeling of like being in finals and like playing against G2, probably having another rematch. But I think like outside of G2, I think like Rogue and Schalke should be the next best teams.
Will the sleep come in? It does, and Roman, they don't know he's here. Triple sleep, massive ulti across the entire time, but no, still Orianna doing so much damage, still trying to find a way out. Gilly is simply next on the list. There's no! Not like this. The triple Abadage wants to turn it, but it's not going to happen. Oh, I love it! Special, the kind of rush onto the face breaker. Rekkles going to be the first target here as he goes down.
And winning the LEC would be really cool to stop the G2 and Fnatic dynasty. And I think we have a really good shot at winning LEC. So I really hope we can take the chance and actually win it, because I think we can do it.
Thank you.
Our teams are so good this year.
I can't believe they actually made it. Woo! What? It's what champions eat.
Beko Harvest Fresh preserves vitamins for longer by simulating the natural 24-hour sun cycle. Beko, eat like a pro.
Have a bite. It's good.
Charged up. Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
Welcome back, everyone, to the LEC studio. It has been a close fight so far between the two Titans as G2 just tied things up in Game 2. A much better look from G2 Esports coming into this second game. What can we attribute it to when it comes to picks and bans?
I mean, Mikyx busting out the Leona. What's not to love? I think Caedrel, you said it best behind the scenes. It's like 2 Hylissangs. Both these guys just wildly diving in constantly and having the tools to do it obviously made a big difference for G2.
Yeah, I love the change up from G2. Go back to the Sett. It was working so much better last week. And just drop the Lillia. Don't really need to play these scaling junglers. Just lock in the Sett, lock in the Leona, and just look for plays. And that's exactly what they did.
What else that maybe didn't meet the eye, which is why we have experts like you guys employed?
You can see they changed the Thresh ban for Ashe, and normally Nautilus is a good pick into Thresh, so that's why Fnatic go for the 1-2 on the Jhin Nautilus. I think Rekkles had to swap up his champion pool, obviously, because Sen has been picked away. And I like the response from G2, like I said, just instantly lock in the Leona and the Sett. And it's just a common draft from G2 where they draft these winning lanes with push, and then they draft an early game jungle and a playmaking support, and then they just look to snowball the lanes. And although they didn't do it super successfully to the early mid game, I think that the concept was good and their team fighting was really strong.
I completely agree, and I think we're continuing to see in this series kind of the weakness of the Lillia Akali as a duo. It doesn't really give you the jungle mid that you're looking for, even though we saw a lot of other members of Fnatic step up. Bwipo Hylissang really looking like a strong duo in the early stages of this game, admittedly. That duo together is not clicking for me. Of course, maybe it's doing great in scrims, but here on stage today, it's looked very weak and really has not justified the priority placed on it.
And you can see Fnatic's win condition on the last pick. They have the Shen ult for the Akali, play over side, try to shut down Wunder on the Jayce, just play over sides as much as you could. And you can even see in fights before they started, both of them were trying to push aside as much as they could, but they caught out Wunder once, but that was about it.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about Wunder. I think he had a phenomenal performance already last week in G2's first best of 5, but also here on the Jayce, even though sometimes it might not look as good because he does end up dying at the end, he makes so much happen whenever he gets ganked.
Yeah, he put so much pressure on his lane. I mean, Jankos gave Shen a kill. Even though that happened, he was still up 20-30 CS. His mechanics on the Jayce were basically flawless, and just the way he played the fights and the skirmishes were really good. I mean, when he had his Muramana and Yomu's Black Cleaver, he was so unleashed. He was doing so much damage in fights, and even on the 1v1 here, plays it so good. The Jayce W is kind of strong in the late game, but just in general, he played it so well.
Any other character that doesn't work, the max attack speed, making sure that he gets to kill him mid-dash, the damage. It's just so disgusting. It's the little things that really add up in those situations. And yeah, absorbing that pressure was a really big deal because it was not running smoothly for G2 in the early game. But obviously, while Wunder was kind of the unsung hero this game, the man that everyone's naturally going to be talking about is Caps, because once again, this man can 1v9 Fnatic. Who can't he 1v9? This man is absolutely unstoppable on Orianna.
Yeah, you can't give Caps kills. I mean, he has Sett Leona on his team, but he's the one pulling the trigger. They have the Herald in mid. He instantly pulls out the ult, and I think his ults this game were fantastic, whether it was 2-3-man ults, which is exactly what you need in a team fight, or just saving his ult for when Akali jumps in. I think that was also super important. Every time Nemesis tried to jump in, Caps was on it, instantly popping the ult, one-shotting him. And I feel like if you give Caps kills and he snowballs, it's really hard to shut him down.
Yeah, and if you look at the other side, I mean, Caps was doing everything with the advantage that he was given or that he took. And I think on the other side, there was distinct lack of the carries doing something with what they've been given. I think Nemesis couldn't put a stamp on this game. Rekkles had a huge lead, and I don't want to put this on those two players, you know, alone. It's about the team not making the decisions to make these picks work either.
Yeah, I think just to jump on the Rekkles train first, because I think that there's a lot to be said about both of them. I'll say that in Rekkles' defense, it's a very difficult game to play Jhin in because Jayce with Muramana can burst you out very quickly. If you play at a safe range and you have someone to peel for you, it's pretty okay. But for the most part, he didn't really have any situations where he could step forward. Now, would I have liked to see a bit more aggression from him? Yes. But the fact that Fnatic funneled all the gold into this guy, and they see the composition, they kind of know the scenarios that are going to play out, and then couldn't find a fight where they got to utilize his gold lead at all. I wouldn't be surprised if his damage this game was just pitifully low because he was playing PvE. Means that there was really no hope of them winning out in fights because Nemesis, well, he certainly tried, but it just did not work.
Yeah, I mean, Rekkles was really he had so much resources throughout the game. I mean, Perkz was rotating for heralds, rotating for lane swaps, trying to get Jayce in the right lane, and Rekkles was just the one catching every wave possible. And even when there was team fights starting and Perkz was setting up for the fights, Rekkles was kind of split pushing or catching mid wave, so Rekkles was really ahead. He had 2-3 items like 22 minutes, but he never really got to shine because I think the whole idea of their comp is playing over side, whereas in team fights, Akali jumped in, got one shot, now Shen's not there anymore.
Let's look at it. You brought it up, I think, especially this team fight. Akali jumped in and just it was really inexplicable to me, but there is a longer setup to this specific Drake fight. It starts all the way in the mid lane where G2 is acting like a death ball composition.
All right, Caedrel, Utaki, I draw.
Okay.
I was told we have the drawing tools. I don't
so
know
you're
where
gonna
they
draw
are.
For him?
Oh, am I just allowed to just touch?
Touch it and pause it, I think.
Woo! Sick. All right, wait.
So
we'll wait for
you
this
can
one to
see
play out.
G2 is just a death ball here. They're going as 5. They know Jayce can't go bots because Akali can go on in with the Shen ult, so they're essentially just going as a 5-man. And you can see right there when Mikyx places that ward and sees Hylissang, they know where Hylissang is, so they can't get flanked. So if you want to roll the clip here, Hylissang spotted out.
Oh my god, it's running away from me.
They can't see it on the replay, luckily.
Okay, who's ever controlling this on the PC end is absolutely trying to...
He's trolling him.
It broke.
Let's bring it back.
And we're back.
without
Hi.
drawing.
There was never any
That's
drawing.
fine.
Forget that this happened. Wow, guys, we have this great replay.
Can I just... This is such an important series, but your micro getting over that couch and back.
That was good.
Parkour.
So you can see them.
Caedrel, break it down.
So they used to send a W. It's 5-man to get the mid pro out. They're moving to Drake. I mean, it's their Infernal Soul. And Mikyx sees Hylissang, and he pulls a trick on him. Everyone from G2 is ready. They all run instantly towards Hylissang. They don't want to get flanked by this Akali. Nemesis eat over the wall to try to get the flank, but he's not in position. So Hylissang's kind of out the fight. The Jhin ult's been used, and now G2, they stay as a 5-man. That's so important. They run straight to the Drake as a 5-man. And you can see Bwipo split pushing bot, and Nemesis tries to make the fight happen here. Hylissang's kind of out of it. Nemesis gets one-shotted, and I mean, Mikyx plays it so good. Instantly flashes onto Selfmade there. And Infernal Soul, Baron, with this kind of comp, it's kind of over.
Yeah, and obviously this is the moment that people are going to look back for Nemesis and call him out for, and I think it's totally fair. But at the same time, we have to just praise G2 for identifying how do they lose a fight if we split up, if we get picked off. And on the other side, for Fnatic, you heard it from the casters, and you're going to hear it from us too. This was not coordinated. This was not put together, and they were forced into a difficult position because it was Infernal Soul. And you could tell that everyone on the team knew that they had to do something, just that they clearly didn't agree on what that something was.
And now we're into game 3. We now have a couple of trends that we saw in picks and bans. And Fnatic is on red side for game 3.
Well, I think G2's going to do the same thing. The Astral Ashe, Evelynn bans really worked out for them. First picking the Senna also works. I don't think Fnatic can change their bans, honestly, unless they want to risk leaving the Kalista or the Lucian up. I think Caitlyn's locked. But if you give like G2 a Lucian flex for bot mid, or you give them a Kalista, I think that they can snowball way harder.
I'm confused. They got to pick, no? They lost the game.
Yeah,
they did lose the game, and they chose to run it back.
Oh.
So the thing is like, what's interesting about this is that this is following very traditional best of 5 like mental theory, which is that like, okay, we're going to play the same thing again. We'll see what you change. We'll try to run it back. But it's interesting to me that Fnatic are now going to continue to run it back. Yesterday, we saw a kind of a step away from that, where teams are usually finally opting to swap sides. But clearly, Fnatic like having the counter pick. They like having this adjustability. And something's going to change, right? And for me, it might be, maybe it's the Jhin, maybe it's the Lillia. Those are the 2 picks that I'm really looking at to change, because I think the Shen was fine. I think the Akali, the theory's there, even if the execution wasn't. But those are the ones that Jhin got all the resources and did nothing. That's a bad look. Lillia continues to be, I think, pretty underwhelming. So those are the picks I expect to change.
Yeah, I think if Fnatic's going to run back red side, they've obviously identified something that went wrong. And I think the main 3 things that I can see are the top side picks. I think the Shen blind pick doesn't really fit very well. I think an Urgots or something better, or even just pick Orianna on 4 pick like they did last time. Just blind pick the Orianna. It's absolutely fine. You can counter top. I think the Akali Shen, this play over sides thing's not going to work for them. Play for team fights. And like you said, the 3rd pick Lillia, not a huge fan. You could have luxed for something like a Kha'Zix on 3, which is Selfmade's really good at, or even just go back with the Hecarim, Orianna on 4, and then just counter pick top again.
All right, that's a good plan there, spelled out by Caedrel. Let's see what they do. G2 and Fnatic have traded blows in this first game, so let's see who takes the lead when we return.